Hey everyone, Diavolo here, and today we are back with that Fujimoto goodness, and for the second time throughout the entire story so far, we are gifted with the blessing that is a primal devil in the flesh. This arc is freaking fantastic and exemplifies, in my opinion, why Tatsuki Fujimoto is a god tier mangaka, with a storytelling prowess only a few others can even hope to attain. This Falling Devil arc picks up perfectly from where we left off in the dating Denji arc. There, we saw Asa and Denji have what I would consider to be their first proper interaction throughout the manga. Like, I know they have beforehand, but it just wasn't as long as that section. Funnily enough, that all kind of backfired though, and Asa ended up supposedly having her heart broken at the very end of it. If you have missed that vid and do want to catch back up before you get into the Falling Devil arc right here, then go and peep it, as there is things that get discussed that do matter for this arc right here. But either way, sit back and relax, subscribe and push this video to 5k likes so I know you want more, and let's get into this primal fear, cooking. Inside of the Devil Hunter Club, we find Asa and Yoshida talking about Denji's love life over tea, which I guess is a change in events from what we were just at. As Asa gets served some tea by Chainsaw Man's Brad Pitt, she's reminded of the cringeworthy moment where she got rejected by him after Yoru randomly asked him out. She knows that he's with Denji a lot, and apparently he's a public safety devil hunter despite still being in school. He has to be extremely busy, so to her it makes no sense for him to spend his time with a loner like her. She wonders if he started noticing her after she asked him out, but ending her thoughts, Yoshida just questions what Asa mumbled to herself outside of the school gates. Wanting to chat, Asa expresses her thoughts on how life is more manageable when one is alone. To her surprise, Yoshida actually agrees and mentioned that living with someone else might make things simpler, though there's no assurance of a lasting, harmonious relationship. Yoshida also concludes on how these days, with books and TV, one can easily have a one-sided parasocial relationship. Like some of my viewers. It's simple. The solitary life is less risky, and I'm not gonna lie, when I sit in my content cage all day and make videos, the solitary life can be pretty good sometimes. I get where Asa's coming from. Asa gets shocked at how Yoshida affirms her values, so she quickly jumps to the conclusion that Yoshida could actually have feelings for her. After a while, Yoshida gets happy to be on the same page as Asa. However, he does know that there's something he's been meaning to tell her. Sigma Yoshida, bless his soul, and not even realizing the turbulent set of emotions Asa is currently going through over this exact scenario, tells her to stay away from Denji. Confused by the statement, Asa proceeds to ask for the reason, but Yoshida is rigid on not telling her and wants Asa to interpret it however she likes. Just as abruptly as he showed up, Yoshida then leaves the office, wishing Asa to have a good day. Skipping over to the wet dog smelling apartment, Naoto smells something nasty. To her, it's the nastiest smell she's ever smelled. Sitting up, she commands Denji to go Chainsaw Man, as it's time to start hunting some devils. Laying amongst the dogs on the floor though, Denji just reveals how he doesn't like being a Chainsaw Man anymore. Naoto tries to motivate him by saying that she wants to see him fight, but Denji believes that even if everybody finds out he's Chainsaw Man, nobody's going to like him, as Naoto will just end up blocking Denji from getting his ins. Overwhelmed with it all, Denji just wonders if he's going to stay single forever. Naoto, still on her path for war, is absolutely convinced that if our boy Denji transforms into Chainsaw Man, he'll become an instant hit with the masses and receive way more love than any girlfriend could ever offer him. It's so bad, but she's like Denji's manipulative motivational coach, and with her delicate little pep talks, even our lazy Denji, who still hasn't even moved yet from the floor, gets hyped and ready to roll. After a while, and having left the school herself, Asa starts overthinking, like most of us do in real life. She thinks to herself on how a life of solitude would really be better than feeling overwhelmed like this. She's quick to convince herself someone likes her, and when she's wrong, it breaks her heart. Stooping lower and lower to the ground, Asa sighs deeply, causing Yoru to show up and agree with the thoughts that she's been having. Asa believes that she only cares about herself, and whenever she gets lonely, she craves a companion. Yoru thinks that Asa has been a little too hard on herself, while also hilariously agreeing to the fact that Asa is a little bit arrogant. Not listening to her though, Asa just wonders if she's better off dead. Suddenly though, a man with distorted and twisted limbs drops down right next to the path she was just walking on. Looking at him, she can't help but notice the agonizing look of pain in his eyes. Instantly, Yoru tears her way forth and takes control of Asa's body, exclaiming that there's something wrong. In front of her, it's shown that every resident inside of her building has walked out onto their veranda and is now staring directly at her. Elsewhere, and I guess while on a little date with Yoshida, Fami has been given a huge portion of desserts. Funnily enough, it's the exact same cafe that Yoshida had previously brought Denji to. Sitting there, Yoshida states that, he expected her to hold back at the aquarium. In another twist, it's revealed that it was actually Yoshida who initially invited Fami out to meet, so the whole situation fell on him. Taken aback by the statement, Yoshida shares how he never actually expected Fami-senpai to show up, or should he say, the Famine Devil to show up. He also reveals that he came across a rumour that devils are bad with names, so an alias as bold as Fami makes it obvious in his eyes that she really wasn't even trying to hide it. Sticking with not even caring, Fami reveals that she has no intention of hiding her own identity, and instead just asks what he wants with her. So, good old Yoshida following up a rumour with another rumour, but he goes in depth on an urban legend going around town. This legend originates from the prophecy of Nostradamus, who predicted that in the 7th month of 1999, a great king of terror will descend. Society's perception of the urban legend, though, was nothing more than a sensationalized TV or cable buzz that had been swirling around exciting students. However, the Public Safety Organization believes otherwise. Back earlier in 1999, to carry out a specific experiment, 30 convicts were presented with an intriguing opportunity to make contracts with a future devil that promised their release from captivity afterwards. But there was a catch: they had to inquire about the timing of their own demise. The results of this daring experiment were both astonishing and chilling. It was determined that the future devil seemingly predicted a grim fate for a significant portion of participants. A staggering 23 out of the 30 convicts were predicted to meet their end in the ominous month of July 1999. Not really bothered by this information, Fami just questions his statement. So, Yoshida's in a little bit of a dilemma here. He's desperately trying to get Fami to spill their beans. He knows she's up to something, but the Public Safety Org believes it's connected to the Prophecies. The only reason Yoshida even came to this cafe was to talk, so if she's gonna sit there and refuse, it may only leave him with unleashing the not-so-pretty devil treatment. But hey, Fami doesn't want any hands with our man and finally opens up. She asks if the other 7 were also fated to die this week, and that just 40 seconds ago, a devil decided to pop into existence at the East District Tamino apartments. So, yeah, shit's about to hit the fan, and unlike literally anything else we've seen so far in this series, this is the first devil who will shepherd the world into ultimate terror. Then, as Fami proceeds to state that this devil is one with the name of a primal fear, it skips back to where we were just before with Asa and the falling body. However, the whole environment suddenly changes. Instead of outside, now we're in with a cute middle-aged couple who are in good spirits over the dude's recent promotion. Randomly, the dude who was in the middle of a conversation about how it's probably not realistic for him to own a car in the city, turns to his missus and asks if she reckons they should just die. To which the wife, who initially looked a bit sketched out with what he was saying, is like, die? Yeah, sure, let's go for it. Our cute NPC couple then stroll over to their front door, open it, hop over the railing, and jump from their terrace, falling straight to the ground below. Surprisingly, it's not just them ending their lives, it's the whole Tamino apartment building, with every single person jumping from their terrace. Yoru, who was witnessing this from the ground below, commands a ruler sword, turning one of her rulers into a crafty weapon. Seeing the creature's arms though, and realizing that this is not a fight she can win, Yoru drops her bag and turns in an attempt to run from the mysterious multiple-limbed devil. Behind her, the devil picks up one of the jumpers and uses her head as his own. Then, looking down at her own body and the appendages growing from her, she realizes just how indecent she's currently being. Having chucked on a chef's outfit, she exclaims that tonight, the falling devil shall be their chef. According to her, she is visiting at the request of every resident inside of hell. Elsewhere, and while running, Asa temporarily falls for the devil's negative feelings, but Yoru tries to snap her out of it. The falling devil, on the other hand, introduces her first course called Diavolo. Like, you guys do not understand the struggle I just went through to say that. Anyways, suddenly a certain memory replays in the back of Asa's mind. It was during Asa's childhood, more specifically after the death of her mother and during the time she spent in an orphanage. The madame at the orphanage wanted Asa to give her cat away to one of her family friends, since some of the kids there are allergic, and it was actually unhealthy for Asa to depend on the cat's companionship instead of interacting with other people. As much as Asa didn't want to let go of her, the madame kept on forcing her to, while giving Asa an example from the kids at the orphanage, and how they don't even have anyone because the devils killed their parents. Even hers too. Just like Asa, the madame's mother was also taken out by the typhoon devil. Mentioning this sad fact successfully manipulates Asa into giving up the cat named Crambon, but only under the condition that it was going to a family friend. Later at night, and while in bed, Asa gets asked about her cat by one of the kids laying right by her side. Sadly, that same kid reveals that when she went to play in the river earlier on, there was a cat that looked exactly like Crambon lying at the bottom. When the madame walks in to tell them to sleep, Asa asks if her cat's okay. Instead of a straightforward response though, the madame revealed a painful truth that left Asa speechless. Each child inside of the orphanage had suffered a heart-wrenching loss of their families, leaving them all to face the world without the love and care of their parents. So because of this, the madame seemed to believe that it was utterly unfair for Asa to be the only one with a family member while no one else does. In the present, Asa's mind is consumed by the haunting memory of the falling devil's dish, making her scream out in heartfelt pain. Hanging there, her thoughts swirled within her mind as she imagines a surreal scene where everyone around her seems to be slowly falling into the sky. Amidst this disturbing imagery, Yoru shares her own troubling revelation. She can't seem to enter Asa's body as she usually does. Yet, even amidst this darkness, a glimmer of hope remains as Yoru screams out for Asa to not be afraid. While Asa is on the verge of falling into the darkness, Yoru tries to talk her into gripping the pole tighter. However, Asa still falls, and obviously not wanting to die, Yoru commanded Asa to chant nail knife, which in turn detaches one of Asa's nails and turns it into a small blade. Due to the pain though, the previous thought she had vanished and it allowed her to fall to the ground. Getting up, Yoru winces in pain as she begins walking forth and quietly wishes to herself that Asa would concentrate on her finger's ache, hoping that it might act as a distraction while she keeps her fear at bay. Thinking on the events that just passed, Yoru notices what's going on and that some of the humans ain't even affected by the devil's ability. Pondering what devil it could possibly be, Yoru thinks that it's the trauma, no moon, no gravity, no Kurmicide, no. It's the kind of devil that makes your hair stand on its ends, the falling devil. Curious, Yoru wonders why she even appeared here and if she has any connections with the famine devil. After a while, she notices Asa's fear returning and cuts her hand to make Asa focus on the pain again. Asa's body takes back over though as she crashes into the floor. Reappearing next to her, Yoru just asks why she's afraid of her and keeps driving her out of her body when all she's doing is trying to keep them alive. Enraged at Yoru's screaming, Asa also explains that she knows nothing about Yoru. She takes over her body whenever she wants and is always scaring her. Yoru believes that it's because she's afraid, but Asa argues again that it's because she cut her damn hand. Standing upside down, Yoru tries explaining that the devil's power is making her feel negative and needs to think this through logically. If they use Yoru's agility, they'll survive, but her fear is jeopardizing their current survival. Sweating with self-doubt now, Asa asks Yoru whether she can delve inside her mind and see the very thing that she fears the most. She understands that she has trust issues and is pretty lonely, so once in a while approaches someone. Still, that's when it all goes wrong for her, and in typical fashion, she ends up hurt and alone once more. Something always goes wrong, resulting in her getting hurt. Without even receiving a reply, Asa just states that it's solitude and companionship. She's afraid of them both. Kinda crazy when you think about that's exactly what she's got here with Yoru. She has this companion who can actually never leave her, but on the same page she's afraid of even considering this person a companion and trusting her inputs. Anyways, bless my French, as our current falling devil who's cooking up some more heat has just laid out another course called De Route Atalante, a pottage made from the, I guess you could say, exposed parts of devil hunters who tried to take her out. Among the fallen, she spared one fortunate soul, keeping him alive for her sinister plans. The mere sight of this horrible creature though sent shivers across the body of our mute friend. As that bug then chowed down, Chef Falling let us all know of the main meal that she intends to serve to those of the underworld. Its name, Asarut Yoru, a human and war devil fusion. Suddenly, a whole group of devil hunters are blinded and defeated as the Gordon Ramsay of the devil world flies forth, getting all of the supplies needed to create another pottage. Spotting a nearby AGI supermarket, the falling devil makes her way inside where she looks for a type of apple that pairs well with all of the previously collected supplies. Looking up, it's revealed that because the manager of the store is afraid, he's floating on the ceiling and can now only apologize in terror. Fallen exclaims that unless they mean to attack, she won't do them any harm and only needs a few apples from their store. Walking out of the store now, Falling stops dead in her tracks as she realizes she's forgotten a portion of her sauce recipe. The falling devil then reaches the Tamano apartments again and yells out for someone to let her use one of their heads, but before she can even figure what's going on, a nearby devil hunter initiates the ambush. Suddenly, a master sharpshooter opens fire and shoots at her a multitude of times. Finding the current situation just awkward, the fallen devil revives herself and reveals that it's impossible to kill her, so instead of fighting, she prefers to avoid meaningless slaughter and just really needs that ingredient. Not falling for these tricks though, get it, I'm so freaking lame. The dude shot at her once more, however this time and in a fraction of a second, she shoots forth a sonic blast that annihilates the entire building. Not only does it take out all of her competition, but she also manages to get that sought after ingredient, finally allowing her to create that dank sauce. All that remains to finish creating the perfect meal is to make Asa Mitaka fall, and then the dish will be complete. That ain't happening though, and as falling hears the sound of our boy, Denji shows up already fully transformed and ready to throw hands with the so-called Primal fear. Screaming at the devil, Denji accuses them of a horrendous crime. He saw it just before. She is a thief who doesn't pay for her goddamn apples. Randomly, and in an instant, Denji's body is then sliced to bits. Still, he ain't done that easily. He manages to hold himself together as he reverses the situation and sticks the chef on the menu. Grabbing her head and throwing a fat kick, falling sends Denji crashing back into the side of the building. Picking up the food that she just dropped in the short scuffle, she identifies Chainsaw Man and reveals that she won't kill any more humans, so there's no need to fight. The only thing that's really on her mind right now is her final task of dropping Asa Mitaka into hell. After that, she'll take her leave. Hearing the words Asa and hell, Denji questions this random foe. Having fixed up their outfit, Tatsuki's personal chef explains that she was given a job. It's simple, she just has to feed the residents of hell, and Asa Mitaka is the final course. Denji exclaims aloud that nothing she says makes any sense, but this is great now as he has a reason to actually kill her. Flying forth, he screams for her to keep their hands off his ex-potential girlfriend. Curious about how badly Denji could simp for someone, Falling just casually stops him with one finger while stating that he's impeding with her cooking, so he has to leave. Confused, Denji watches as the devil sticks out one of her hands and commands him to fall. All of a sudden, Denji's chainsaw form vanishes and he sees a bunch of terrible memories from his past that cause him to scream out in pain. In reality, and like everyone else affected by the devil's powers, Denji and his Chainsaw Man form had begun helplessly falling upwards. Making her leave now, the falling devil turns to try and track down Asa's scent. Taken by complete surprise though, Denji doesn't give up and somehow manages to slice the falling devil in half. Utterly flabbergasted, Denji explains that whenever a devil he fights uses mental attacks, well, he just cuts up his brain as a rule to fix it. Walking forth while muttering that he wants to eat corn dogs, specifically corn dogs from France, Denji leans down and physically begins to eat the devil's leg, while still simultaneously slicing his own head to stop the mental attacks and the chef's body to keep her immobilized. Having screamed that she wasn't a corn dog, Falling soon starts questioning if perhaps what Denji's doing might be right. A chef ought to experience being eaten at least once. Once allowing herself to be completely devoured by the chainsaw devil, Falling re-emerges by exploding out of Denji's stomach fully revived and thanking him for the 5-star experience, but just like before she needs to go and return to her cooking. Nothing actually makes sense in my life anymore, and with Denji somehow hanging on, he plunges his chainsaw straight through the side of the devil's head in an attempt to stop her. Still, Falling really isn't fazed by any of this and just raises her hand to flick Denji off onto the ground. Looking at his pathetic state, she just remarks that she detests ugliness. Turning around and making her leave now, the falling devil glides up into the sky to track down Asa's scent. Left on the ground writhing in pain, Denji screams out for them to get back. Randomly though, someone with a familiar pair of shoes shows up right next to him. I'm not 100% caught up here to like the current chapter or anything, so I don't know if this was revealed on who it might be, but in my headcanon right now this is 100% Kabini. Obviously correct me if I'm wrong, it's just those shoes, they look like the Devil Hunter shoes and something Kabini would 100% wear, plus, you know, like what I see next in her hand and everything. Anyways, sticking out their hand and making a small incision, the random Devil Hunter revives Chainsaw Man and proclaims that they still need him to fight. Meanwhile, the falling devil floats her way across town towards Asa's location. After spotting the scared high schooler, Asa screams in panic that it's finally found them. Using the power of Falling flicks her finger to make the building Asa was on break apart. Managing to just grab onto the railing, Asa and Yoru can only watch as the falling devil places both of her hands on each side of her head. Holding the absolutely terrified high schooler there, the primal fear reveals that Asa's attachment to life is weak to begin with. In fact, what truly scares her is the shock of impact, the physical sensation of falling, and how the sky will slowly fade to black. Wide-eyed and unable to do anything, Falling just tells her to close her eyes as she can promise her a peaceful descent. Yoru on the other hand panics, knowing the inevitable is about to occur. Looking away from her, Asa gets reminded of all of the trauma that she has faced earlier in life, and because of that, sadly closes her sweat-filled eyes. Letting go of everything, Asa falls through the darkness and thinks to herself that it is really true. She feels at peace now. Plummeting upwards towards the sky, she knows that now she won't have to cause trouble for anyone else or get her feelings hurt anymore. She won't have to lie in bed thinking about all of the things she did wrong. However, she does have one regret. Even if it was with only one person she'd have loved wholeheartedly. All of a sudden though, Denji makes a super cool, dope, spectacular, super awesome entrance and saves Asa from falling by holding the building's railings and not letting her float off. Also, of course, it's literally as she was about to finish saying that she wished she had someone to love. Surprisingly, Asa, who realizes that Chainsaw Man of all people saved her, tells him to wait and let go of her. She is perfectly okay with falling, she's accepted her fate now. Looking at her and wondering if she's gone mad, Asa just screams that life is nothing but pain, always getting made a fool of, getting hopes up constantly, only to be let down every single damn time. Hearing her out, Denji actually agrees with what she's spitting, causing himself to be sucked up into the air as well. Figuring out the effects of falling's ability, it's explained that the worse you feel, the heavier you get, but upwards. Trying to get her to think of like happy thoughts, Denji just screams, dogs and cats, until Asa eventually comes to a complete standstill in the sky. Noticing that they've stopped now, Asa slowly begins to open her teary eyes. Not happy with the levels of manipulation Denji just went to though, she tells him to not make her remember cats, but he tries to get it across to her that he understands the situation she's in. He's been in a similar one himself, she just has to believe him. Lashing out, Asa just demanded to know what in the world he'd know. Not a single damn person has a worse life than herself. Looking into her eyes, he confesses that just when life seems super awesome, as soon as you let your guard down, then something super crappy happens out of nowhere and it screws everything up. All in all though, life really isn't that bad. It's just that we're wired so day in and day out, all we remember is the bad stuff. Mentally, that bad stuff then piles up as if someone's crafting a shitburger of emotions. Wondering how like the great Chainsaw Man was able to overcome these emotions, he replies that he hasn't. Only, he's got something to live for, something he looks forward to with a ferocity that not even his own crap burger of emotions can hold him back. Curiously, she wonders what this one factor is, and screaming out like the degenerative child that he is, he proclaims that he wants to bang. The idea of it in his eyes is more than enough to keep on fighting to live for, making Asa immediately cringe with pure disgust. In fact, she finds Denji creepy, telling him that she changed her mind and instead wants him to go to hell as well. Denji is like, nah bruh, this is it, and reminds her on how humanity got to the size it is today, all because it feels so damn amazing. Oh bro, I'm so uncomfortable, Denji right now, like, and just saying this out loud is making me so uncomfortable. Asa finds Denji gross, but he still keeps on appreciating the beauty of hooking up. Asa though reminds him about how people really only hook up because they have nothing better to do. Like, surely somebody else's saliva and sweat all mixing together with yours, that's just like totally gross. Denji though thinks on like completely opposite poles and finds the process beautiful. What am I actually even talking about right now? I swear to Lord Fujimoto, we were just in the middle of a fight against a primal fear. What are we doing now? Anyways. After a while, Asa asks Denji what makes him think he'll get a girlfriend. But you see, our boy is utterly optimistic and he thinks that when he gets older, he'll be able to get one. Asa screams that no woman in existence would want to hook up with a guy who has a chainsaw sticking out of his head. And obviously, out of everything they've said so far, this strikes a certain chord within our boy's soul and sends him hurling upwards towards the quickly opening door to hell. With the door slamming behind them, putting them now in hell, Denji, without hesitation, grabs Asa off the plate she was stationed on. Spotting another nearby door, Denji tosses Asa up over his shoulder and heads in that direction. Striking through the darkness, tentacled-like appendages strike at our main man as he rushes forth, trying to make it to the doorway. Instantly appearing behind him, an unnamed devil slices Denji up, sending his head soaring across the room, but not before he quickly grabs his own head and reattaches it while starting his engines. Finally making it to the perfectly placed doorway, Denji opens it just to see the falling devil herself standing there. She explains again that her dish doesn't call for Chainsaw Man, so all he has to do is leave her and he'll be sent back safely. Pulling his cord and starting that infamous chainsaw once more, he just questions if it's possible to just bring back Asa's rear end, which is just crazy, dude, and feeling the degeneracy also oozing from this man, Falling calls him an utter pervert. Randomly, someone equipped with chainsaws bursts through the falling devil from behind, completely destroying her body and making her remark that this annoyance keeps happening to her today. Walking through the door, this person notes that the falling devil doesn't have a tolerance for diners who leave their food unfinished. Everyone inside of hell will desperately try and devour Asa, otherwise their lives are at risk as well. Without ever revealing who this random Chainsaw Man figure is, they just tell our Chainsaw Man to please keep evading those hordes until sunrise. Waking up and looking at the figure in the doorway, Asa just thinks to herself, why there's two Chainsaw Mans? Instantly, some massive appendages push both Denji and Asa out of hell back into the real world. Yoru realizes the situation that they're in with Chainsaw Man lying knocked out on the floor there and asks Asa to finish him off while he's down. In fact, if she kills him right now, then Yoru will return her body back to her and she'll finally be normal again. Once seen in pain though, Yoru can't seem to get a grasp on Asa's emotions. Just when she thought she'd begun to understand her, she always does the opposite of what she says. Grabbing a rock and bashing her hand in, Asa places her hand above Chainsaw Man's mouth in an attempt to revive him with her blood. Yoru screams that she doesn't need to take it as far as literally saving her mortal enemy, but Asa explains that during the fight with Yuko, and even earlier today, Chainsaw Man had saved her life twice now. Plus, watching Chainsaw Man had made her think that even if a loser like him is allowed to somehow keep on living, then maybe it's okay for her to live too. A fraction of a second later, a sharply spiked tendril shot out of the door the group had just escaped through, but just in time she was able to pull Denji's cord and say those prolific words, "Save me, Chainsaw Man." Instantly, Denji, fully revived, darts forth with Asa in his hands and lands on a nearby car. Not even giving them a moment of rest, those same tendrils destroy the car, forcing the duo to try and move between the multitude of buildings. As they continued to dodge the tendrils, Denji began to tire from all of the jumping. He confessed to Asa that he was getting exhausted and might not even be able to save her. Adding to the impending doom, 10 or so more tendrils then burst through every surrounding building, leaving the duo with no escape at all. Somehow escaping though, I'm mentally confused on how Denji even managed to evade that last strike. Someone actually help me down in the comment section below. Anyways, as he once again reiterates just how tired he is, Asa spots some chick on a motorbike and tries getting him to steal it as an option. Not stupid in the slightest though. Denji notes that he can't steal that bike, a woman's riding it. Quickly picking the next option, Asa is like, steal that guy's then, and without a fraction of hesitation, Denji kicks the man off the bike. On top of that, and as Denji sat there chilling on the bike, man was like, "Don't blame me to the owner, blame this chick behind me," before suddenly realizing that the tendrils were heading directly at him and he can't even drive a bike to begin with. Not having any other option, Asa screams out Super Chainsaw Man motorcycle, and at the exact same time, the tendril slams down on the duo. However, our team emerges victorious as Asa's powers turn the bike into a massive moving chainsaw that shredded the tendril to bits. Gassing it through the streets now, Denji looks down to see that the bike turned all badass and just assumes that it was probably a power he didn't even know he had. Asa notes that the fake Chainsaw Man said if they outrun all of their tendrils then they will survive. All of a sudden, the sky darkens as above a plethora of those same tendrils gather, ready to pound down on the fleeing duo. As the ground is destroyed, it's shown that somehow Denji managed to manipulate the bike's polarity and was able to dodge the attack by driving across the side of a nearby apartment. Back in hell, the tendril or whatever devil this is that's controlling these things back on Earth literally face palms in frustration over what he's witnessing. Then, merging into one of his own tentacles, the creature proceeds to try and slam down on Denji and Asa. But luckily, our man's bike skills are simply unbelievable and he was able to skirt off the side of the building, then boost it through the streets as the massive devil chased after them. Denji wonders, what in the freaking world is that thing? But before he even has time to think about it, Asa points out the literal skyscraper that had been floated above them by the falling devil. Commanding them to eat it, the falling devil drops the entire building, completely destroying the entire area. Inside of the collapsing structure, our man, still riding at full speed, manages to drive up and out the other side before they were too almost swallowed by the rubble. Sadly for them though, the massive devil had already predicted this insane movement path and placed himself in a perfect position to swallow the falling riders. As Denji and Asa are heading towards the unknown devil's mouth, Denji tries to steer them out of the way, only for the falling devil to remark that food shouldn't be able to run, before sending them with her ability into the mouth of the devil. With the devil chowing down, she asks how the taste of a human steeped in fear tastes like. Seeing the pained look on its face, the devil instantly vomits, regurgitating both Asa and Denji. Crying tears of blood and gradually becoming more and more annoyed, the falling devil yells at the other one, claiming that she made the meal with love, so how dare it throw it up, before pointing her finger forth and executing it with a blast of energy. Heading away from the wreckage, the falling devil bows while apologizing to Fami, revealing that the plan for Asa to be consumed was the latter's idea. Fami, who doesn't seem like too peeved over the entire ordeal, orders her to return to hell, causing the falling devil to explode and burst into flames. As the devil burns, it gradually becomes smaller until the point that Fami is able to reach out with one hand and grab it. Even more bizarrely, Naota is also revealed to be present, with Fami noting that she was the one that caused the devil to actually throw up. Speaking up herself now, Naota explains that she controlled the devil's brain just a teensy bit and made any human it ate taste like actual crap. Curiously, Naota asks why her sister is targeting Asa and Denji, to which Fami reveals that Nostradamus' prophecy is going to come true, and the ultimate terror will soon descend upon this world. If that happens, the age of humanity will end, ushering in an age of devils. Initially, Naota seems to be totally on board with that idea, thinking that it kind of sounds fun. However, Fami states that if an age of devils does come, things like pizza and delectable Chinese foods will cease to exist, making Naota scorn at the idea that pizza would no longer exist. In both sisters' eyes, it's literally the worst case scenario imaginable. Sadly, at the current strength everyone is on, not a single soul in their group will be able to stop the prophecy. Fami remarks that whilst the prophecy itself will come true regardless of what they do, she does believe that they could make the War Devil win instead. Naota points out how stupid that sounds as she just tried to have Asa consumed a moment ago, to which Fami says that she only did it in order to starve the War Devil as she is able to control those who are experiencing hunger. With all of that said, she offers Naota an alliance since, with their combined strength, the Age of Devils may not arrive, but Naota swiftly denies it since she's got to go to school instead. Flashing into school then, the teacher asks for them to raise their hands if they know the answer. And without hesitation, the class, including Naota, who obviously got her way, throws up her hand. So, boom, that there brings us to the end of the Falling Devil arc, which was something else entirely from Tatsuki's writings. I don't think he's been this manic, this crazy with it before. I was giggling so hard while recording this at some points, I just had to stop and actually re-record some parts of it. Anyway, I'm actually kind of curious as to what role Naota fully played throughout the arc that we just witnessed. Might just be my Makima PTSD, but seeing any form of stomach chain connected to Denji makes me absolutely curious, and there was a few moments throughout this arc here where I saw some bit of Denji's stomach going off elsewhere, and I'm like, was he getting controlled, or was this just I don't know, was he just healing up or something, you know? Anyways, if you guys did enjoy the Falling Devil arc, then be sure to leave a like and push this video to 5k likes, as it shows that you want more of my Chainsaw Man content. If you are interested in that, make sure you do subscribe to keep up to date with a plethora of different series, going towards 200k, almost there, only 30k to 200k subs now, which is crazy. But anyway, for now it's been your professional degenerate Diavolo, and I will see you all in a bit. Bye.